Hello again, everyone. Welcome to my channel, which I just realized I don't have a name for yet. So whatever the name is for my channel that you're seeing right now, just know that I came up with it at the last minute because I've recorded a few videos now without giving my channel a name. Anyway, I'm Marcus, and I'm here today to review the album Living Mirage by The Head and the Heart. Those of you new to my channel, which is literally everybody because this is one of my first videos, the way I do it is I review a couple songs from a particular album, and then I review the album as a whole. So far I've reviewed two songs on this channel, Up Against the Wall and the title track Living Mirage. Both got thumbs up from me, really great songs. And so now I've taken the time to listen to the entire album multiple times through, actually, and I'm here to kind of give my impression of the album as a whole. So as always, thank you for tuning in, and let's get started. So looking back to a couple things I had said during my song reviews, I had listened to Up Against the Wall, and I noted that it sounded kind of like a breakup song. You know, if it was poppy, it was upbeat, but it sounded like not everything was right, you know, as far as lyrically and in the singers or the band's life. Same thing with Living Mirage. I talked about how it seemed like the songwriter, the singer, was they were trapped where people are all the same or they feel fake, and then also about how it seemed like it was sort of a breakup song again. And so kind of taking that into consideration, I went and looked up more information about the album and the band itself. I've been listening to The Head and the Heart since, like, I don't know, 2013, 2012, somewhere around there. I've been listening to them for a few years now. In fact, I went to go see them at ACL when they were here 2017. So I've been a pretty big fan of them for some time now, and so I was really excited when this new album dropped. I was really excited to listen to it, and honestly, it did not disappoint. So anyway, I went and looked up more information about the band because I'd always enjoyed their music, but I didn't really know much about them as a band. So I went and looked up more information and about the album itself. And yeah, definitely, they were going through some turmoil before recording this album. They had a bandmate who was like addicted to drugs, alcohol, whatever, and who kind of had left the band for some time to kind of sort himself out. Then he comes back, and things just don't quite work out with the band again. And so, not only that, but they had another bandmate who they lost for another reason, and it just they pulled in a new guy, and so it was an interesting time in the band's history. It sounded like they were on the verge of almost breaking up at some point, and so I think a lot of that comes through lyrically in the songs, because a lot of the songs I noticed just from listening to them and, you know, thinking about the lyrics as I like to do, it just seemed like there was a lot of themes of breaking up or being sad, depressed, or you know, it just seemed like it was not a happy album. Although it was poppy and a lot of songs are very upbeat, it was not necessarily a happy album, which I'm totally cool with. Again, I come from like metal, hard rock background, so, you know, I'm used to it. So I really enjoyed the style, though. So lyrically, conceptually, I'd give it a solid, like, 20 points, whatever, right? I'd give it like its full points. I think lyrically and conceptually, the album is great. I mean, you really see the struggle of the artist come through in the different songs. Musically, fantastic. I think they always do a good job. Very polished. Piano, violin, bass, guitar, the vocals, everything's mixed well, everything sounds great. It seems like their musical choices are very smart on where they put certain things, and so I think it's very well composed musically as well. So again, give it full points there. As far as the catchiness or the listenability, you know, so you can be technically proficient but still make kind of boring music. I would say this is the total opposite. They are skilled, they're proficient musically, but they are also composing music that is fun to listen to. You know, I had a lot of fun listening to Up Against the Wall. Missed Connection, their first single, is really fun song to listen to. Honeybee is has a nice sweet melody, another great song to listen to. And See You Through My Eyes, another great song. So really, so many of these songs are just so well made, lyrically, musically, and they're just entertaining and fun to listen to. So again, gets full points from me there. So overall, I mean, I think the album is very solid. Not to mention that one problem I have with albums sometimes, a lot of times really, especially in the rock world, is that there are so many filler songs on there. There can be albums where there's only one or two songs I actually care about, and those songs are bangers, they're great, but the rest of the album is just kind of, it's a skip for me. Even one of my favorite bands, Metallica, is guilty of this. I mean, to me though, I felt like this album only had maybe I would say about three weaker songs. And when I say weaker, I'm not even saying that these were bad songs. I'm not even saying that these are, well, for me, they're kind of auto skips. If I'm not totally into a song, I usually skip it right away when it comes up, even though I'll have it on my library. You know how it goes. So going down the list, I can tell you there's more strong songs on this album than there are weak songs. So See You Through My Eyes, really great song. I love that. Great way to start the album. Misconnection, their first single, great song as well. People Need a Melody, one of my favorites lyrically, but also, I mean, it's a really catchy song for me at least. It's not the most upbeat on the album, but it's a catchy song for me. Honeybee, sweet melody to it. My girlfriend and I love to listen to it together. It's a great song. Definitely a girlfriend song, if you know what I mean. One of the weaker songs I would say is the song Brenda. And again, it's not a bad song. It just doesn't quite captivate my interest the way some of the other songs on this album have. One of my early favorites upon listening to this album was Running Through Hell. There was just something about it that was just so catchy to me, and I could kind of relate to it for whatever reason. So I listened to Up Against the Wall on my channel, so you know how I feel about that song. But again, thumbs up from me. Saving Grace to me is another weaker one. I like the way the song starts out. It's kind of like Living Mirage, where it starts out very calm, smooth, and then it kind of picks up a little bit. For me, I like the calm, smooth part, and I kind of wish they would actually have continued that in that particular song. But I just wasn't really digging the chorus in that song. I think you got to have a strong chorus in a pop song for sure. And it doesn't quite match with the mood of the rest of the album, I feel like. And so maybe that also kind of messed it up a little bit for me as well. I Found Out is another great song, very catchy, very great chorus. Living Mirage, again, you know how I feel about that song as well. To me, Living Mirage is easily one of the top two songs on the album. So, as I've said before, I'm a firm believer that your title track has to be one of your strongest. If you're gonna name the album after a song or vice versa, that song has to be a good song. In my opinion, that's just me. And then lastly, The Glory of Music. To me, that's a little bit of a weaker one as well, although I don't dislike it. I'll listen to it a couple times. It's a little too calm, a little too slow for me. It doesn't quite match with the rest of the album, but I appreciate it lyrically, because what it sounds like the artist is saying is that kind of music is what drives them. Music is what connects people. Music is kind of that all-healing factor, which I really appreciate that lyrically, but just musically, it wasn't quite there for me. So overall, like I said, really only three songs I would consider weaker, but I could totally see other people really enjoying those three songs. So I wouldn't even say they're bad songs. I would just say, for me, they're a little bit on the weaker side. But when you consider that's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, about 11 songs, only 3 of them are on the weaker side. That's it's a good quarter of the album. That's 75% of the album that's still very solid, which is more than a lot of albums can say. So overall, where would I rank this album? If I had to give it a grading system, again, thinking of the lyrics, the composition, the catchiness, the listenability, and then just how strong the album holds up overall, I'd probably give it a solid A. 92, 93, somewhere in that range. I think it's a very enjoyable album. As far as this year, 2019 goes, I would easily give it my favorite top spot, number 1 album of 2019 so far. And that's saying something, because I've enjoyed quite a few of the albums that have come out this year so far, which I'll get into with later videos. But so far, for sure, this is my number 1 album of the year. Now, at the time of this recording, it is only June, so we still have over half the year to go, so keep that in mind. What I like to do is update my list as we go on throughout the year, So that's why I'm saying so far #1. But if you watch one of my videos in December, it could be a totally different #1 by then. So we'll just have to see how it goes. Definitely #1 for the year. I would say of all time, that's a pretty hard choice for me. I'm looking at my list right now of my top albums of all time. It's going to be a tough one because, you know, putting it in there, I think I'll save. Actually, I already put it in there. Okay, put it number 16. So it's number 16 on my top albums of all time. So I keep a list of my favorite albums of all time, and they shift all the time. You know, it might even be recency bias since this album came out so recently that I'm putting it so high. I mean, 16 is a pretty coveted spot. I mean, that's top 20 albums of all time. So you know, I'll continue to think about that, and you know, keep in mind that, again, this is June 2019. If you watch videos in the future and you see the numbers change, you know, it happens as more albums come out, and I listen and I think and I change my mind. It could move up or down. I think looking at my list, it's definitely the top. It's the top Head in the Heart album. I think this is honestly my favorite Head in the Heart album that I've heard. And in fact, I think they only get better every single album. I think every single album has been stronger than the last for me. So, really big fan of their music. Can't wait to see what they do in the future. So, anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this review of the album Living Mirage. Honestly, if you haven't checked it out yet, go check it out. Go support the artist. I think when it comes to like indie pop or indie folk, whatever you want to call it, they are kind of, for me, they're the front runners. I know my girlfriend, who listens to a lot more of it than I do, would probably say, you know, different bands are up there. But to me, I think this is this is the standard for like indie folk, indie pop type music. So definitely go check them out. And if you haven't already, please subscribe, like the video, do what you got to do. I'm Marcus, and I'll see you in my next review.